welcome to Stories in Innovation in ALS. My name is Lisa Deegan, and I'm joined today with my co-host, McFinn and Lisa. We're storytellers. We've both been affected by ALS. We helped found a nonprofit organization called Everything ALS, whose mission is to bring citizen-driven research along with data technology and science to help accelerate treatments for ALS. This podcast brings together stories of those affected and those who are innovating and investigating in this space to help accelerate treatments for this devastating disease. In today's episode, we share Mayuri Saxena's story and journey with ALS after being diagnosed at the young age of 32. She's also joined here with her brother, Mayank, who has been by Mayuri's side during her days with this neurological disorder. You guys, thank you so much for being here. We are seriously so honored, and we know your time is so valuable. So we really appreciate that you're taking time out of your day to come meet with us. And we're storytellers. You guys are sharing your story. So we want to have people hear this and be inspired by what you guys have done throughout her journey. So let's get straight to the story.
Okay. Mauri, a fine day. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us what you first noticed when you started to feel that there was something wrong?
In the summer of 2016, I noticed my right leg twitching and becoming weaker. We didn't see a neurologist till early the following year when it was noticeable. Nevertheless, it wasn't until the summer of 2018 when I was officially diagnosed through genetic testing.
Wow. The doctor gave me 18 months of life expectancy. Did they give you anything like that?
The doctors actually never gave me a time frame. It was like the elephant in the room.
Wow. Well,
so your story, my brother passed away from ALS. And I was his sister. So we're like kind of reversals. It was the brother who had it and the sister who helped. So I see you guys, and it reminds me of, all the things I did to help my brother and the challenges that we, went through together and that he went through. Mayuri, I want to hear how you're advocating and helping others with ALS, because you've really been out there and being such a great advocate. So I'd love to hear more on that.
I am honored to be working alongside other advocates in the ALS community to push for the ACT for ALS bill to be passed through emails, letters, Zoom calls, and a social media campaign. We have over 330 co-sponsors in the House and 35 in the Senate so far. Last year, we launched helpmayuri.com that made it easy to contact your representative by providing scripts and contact info. By the end of the last congressional session, 5,000 had contacted their representative through the website.
Wow, you guys made a ton of progress, and Act for ALS has been huge, and getting these bipartisan bills co-sponsored has been amazing, all the efforts that you guys have been doing. And I know you've also done other stuff in addition to, dealing with ALS every day and doing advocacy work. And you're also, I read that you were getting socks for the homeless, and you are also providing brown bag lunches for others. I mean, come on, you guys are amazing. So tell me more about your other advocacy efforts.
I am a public servant at heart, and being quadriplegic, nonverbal, trashed and vented doesn't stop me from doing what I'm passionate about. With the help of family, friends, and the ALS community, I've started conducting monthly giving back projects. We put together 100 brown bag lunches for a local food pantry and collected over 100 packages of socks for the homeless so far. We are just getting started.
I love it.
Wow. Thank you so much. All those little things, they all add up one by one, a little piece of the puzzle. Mayuri, can you tell me, do you take any herbal remedies, or you been in any trials?
Unfortunately, I was precluded from any trials, but I'm taking Theracumin, Leap, and Viam supplements.
Excellent. Thank you. Everything that we take hopefully is a benefit, and we've stopped taking all the things that we really don't need in our life. So I pray that your diet and your life keeps continuing on to service that you've taken on in your situation. To be giving like you are is unbelievable, magnificent. Thank you.
Mayuri, you have a dog, Theo, and I got a dog 4 days before my brother passed away from ALS. So my dog actually played a huge role in my healing, and he was my little, or she's a girl. She's my little buddy that, carried me through tough days. So tell us about, Theo. How important is Theo to you?
He is the light of my life. I don't have any children, so I spoil him, but he is a great dog, and it's been an honor to be his mom.
Wow.
So cute.
Yeah. Mayank, how do you balance out your life and being your sister's caretaker? What gives you the energy to expend the energy and to keep your life going at the same time?
Well, I think the biggest help is having other people help out. It's not only me. I'm Mayuri and I are both blessed. We have a wonderful mom who provided for us as a single mother growing up, immigrated to this country as a surgeon, changed in the middle of her surgical residency into emergency medicine because she wanted to spend more time with her kids when we were quite young. So just growing up, even before ALS, we were always lucky to have someone who was very fun-loving and supportive. And after ALS, having her medical expertise coupled with obviously a mother's touch has been instrumental in really helping us out in this entire situation. So I really give my hats off to my mother, who is really I consider Mayuri's primary caretaker in this situation. I do obviously the heavy lifting, quite literally. If things break, you got to lift up the heavy hospital bed, or something's wrong with the AC. So I do that around the house, and I fly back and forth from my home in Los Angeles to where my sister lives in New York City and my mom's home. I balance that by honestly a lot of introspection. A lot of therapy has helped me out a lot. It's a disease that affects the entire circle of who it affects, and it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention the extreme importance of mental health in a disease that can be as devastating as this, because I don't think a lot of people consider the darker sides of being a caretaker. And we always get stuck with a colored pamphlet with smiling faces, and no one ever talks about how really tough it is on every single level. So being honest about how I truly feel, seeking help for myself so my cup is full, helps me balance and prioritize taking care of myself and going back to help care for my sister and my mother.
Mayank, I love that you bring that up, because that is so huge. And it seems to me, just from seeing you guys and hearing you, it seems like you're taking care of yourself, which we didn't handle it right. We were so in stress mode and let's just take care of business that you get lost in that. At least we did. And just like, okay, here's what we got to take care of for today. Here's our situation. Sounds like you're kind of taking the reins and taking charge and realizing, hey, I've got my own mental health. And without me, that's one less person to help out. So I love, now you've mentioned, you do heavy lifting, literally you're traveling by coastal, you're doing so much. Are there other roles that you want to share that, other than brother, that you're doing for Mauri? Like, for example, I help my brother, financial, like paying bills for him, managing his finances. Are there other things that you've done in addition to everything you've mentioned?
Yeah, there's, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's when you first hear of a diagnosis like this or any type of problem, it's our nature to go in, solution oriented mode and to try to solve it. So the things I foresaw in the beginning was that there was going to be a tremendous financial cost associated with, the care.
Mhm.
So what we set out to do a few years ago was we sought out and we secured 2 pro bono attorneys to make 2 different types of trusts to protect the assets of, so my mother wouldn't be financially affected as she's a senior right now,
Mhm.
has to look after her own health and her own future. And so that Mayuri's services, which she's very fortunate that it's covered fully by Medicaid and Medicare. So if
Mhm.
when people say we want to help, we have to make sure that there's a financial structure in place to ensure that her services that she receives from Medicaid and Medicare are protected and they're legal. So I really sought out a few years ago to make sure that everything was fully in place so that when a situation arises where we need to tap into resources by people who are well-meaning, it's all done, by the law and by the books so that everything would be protected and enacted in place. On top of that, even before her condition had progressed, we have to constantly foresee the problems that may be coming instead of just being in a reactionary mode of dealing with it on the spot. So trying to secure different types of medical equipment, realizing what is the next progression or the change that may be happening and trying to educate ourselves so that we can be better prepared when it does arise. So I think, me honestly just helping out with that really helped the situation today. And I'm glad I took those steps 3-4 years ago, because today it's just like it's on autopilot to an extent. Some things are, at least. So that was a huge help. And on top of that, the other things helping out with is, it takes time to physically type with your eye gaze when your eyes are everything when you have no more function left except them, and they get exhausted. So in situations just like this, when we're on Zoom calls for advocacy, I try my best to speak for her, but not overstep my bounds, because she has her own opinions, to try to fill in the blanks. So I think that's what I try to do. Is I think I'm really good at the meta, and looking at things from above and kind of foreseeing things, how they'll affect in 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 2 years, 5, 7 years from now. And I try to include the circle and expand that to myself and my mother. So, we can just be better prepared.
You should write a book on everything you did to prepare, because you know what? There's no manual.
Right.
Right. And your knowledge is, when you've been through it and you've done it, the knowledge you guys have gained from all of this is priceless for, people in the future.
Mayank,
So
your team, it sounds like you and your mother, but who's your big team? Who all is involved in Mayuri's care?
Oh, the day-to-day is definitely my mom and myself. The team involves when we have nurses and our regular aides who come at home, because she does have authorization for full 24/7 home health aid plus 24/7 private nursing, because we want her that through appeals process. So that includes that physical help there too. Part of her team also is her friends. Mayuri, I mean, she has a lot of great friends. Even when we were younger, our backyard was full of just people I used to call randos, and they were awesome people who are well educated, and now they're well connected, and they're doing really great things in the world. And they're the ones who are helping out. It's one of her best friends who worked in Silicon Valley, developed this Help Mayuri website. Her other friend, helped develop all of those really moving narrative videos and those productions. And her other friend, who she knew from childhood, went on to work in the national news. So, and it's all Mayuri's personal connection and her friends that kind of helps the team, and especially the day-to-day stuff of visiting, taking Theo out for a walk, contributing whatever funds they think may help her out with for the day-to-day expenses. So it takes truly a village. And I think Mayuri assembled that village way before ALS.
I would agree that it takes a village. Now, Mayuri, I think it was your Instagram account. You described yourself as, I'm an immigrant, a fighter, a dreamer, an optimist, and lastly, uniquely abled. And I just wanted to tell you, I loved that. So I've also seen that you have many other talents. I've seen some of the artwork that you have directed to be made, and it's amazing. They're bold, they make big statements. So if you want to share what other talents and abilities that you learned that you had after being diagnosed with ALS, we'd love to hear it.
Well, I never expected to write a book. I wrote Pursuit of Happiness, From Heels to Wheels right when my arms were getting weaker. I ended up hiring a scribe and it took a year to complete.
You know, Mayuri, I have a very special question for you. It means a lot to me because I want to help the world. I believe that some people have written books that give us true insight to our nature. And you, as a pioneer in survival on this planet, can you suggest a book to us that might help us, our body, our mind, our soul?
I have so many favorites, but The Journey of Souls, The Book of Joy, and A More Beautiful Question are high on my list.
Oh, thank you. The Journey of Souls is one of my favorite books too. I have it right here
Awesome.
right there. And the gentleman who wrote it lives in Grass Valley, California, right by me. And it's one of my favorite books to get out of this world and to find my multidimensional reality. So thank you for you mentioning that, because you just hit something that really resonates to me. And I hope everybody else who heard the title of that book, The Journey of the Soul, it's we're all on a journey and we all have a soul, and then things are deeper than we actually realize sometimes. And sometimes there's a book out there that'll reveal to you more about yourself than you ever imagined. So thank you for having that book. Wow. So, Mayank, what have you learned about your sister that you never knew before she got ill?
I learned from Mayuri about not only resilience, but about how she's a great teacher. I never thought that, I remember whenever we would feel tired or exhausted from caretaking, which is very real and it's part of this disease process, or anybody who's a caretaker, you can just feel simply exhausted. I would turn and see how she would be struggling, for instance, to get that last morsel of food in her, using even the small masticating muscle that she had left in her mouth, or how she would swallow, or how she would call for help. And what I learned from that, what she was teaching, is what it meant to be alive and to truly fight for one's life, not just fight to get a breath in, but to truly fight for one's life, even when one's physical apparatus seems to be deteriorating and declining, but to still have that sense of purpose to fight not only for one's life, but for the lives of many other people. So for her to be an example, not just for me, but for other people, by insisting that, my life matters too, and not going silently into the night. Right. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about standing up, perseverance from that. Like sometimes you got to stand up for your own self and be your own hero, instead of kind of wishing upon a star and sitting down to pray all the time. Sometimes you got to step up and be your own person and your own hero. So I really learned that from her, is that when everybody's saying no, or you're rejected from trials, or, call it quits, she's like, no. I was like, I'm still alive. I'm still here. I'm still shaking. And I insist that I want a better quality of life. I want a chance just as much as anybody else wants a chance.
And I love that Mayuri has been such an advocate, not just for others, but for herself. She's definitely, Mayuri, you have a voice. You're out there on social media. You are speaking. People are listening, and you have strong opinions. And I love that. And I also have read how you had said, I don't know if it was an article or something, but I had read that you were glad that ALS gave you a chance to reevaluate life, see what's really important, and how you found real joy, or how to find that real joy. And what I want to know, because I'm sure I can imagine from what I know of you that you are thankful for many things. I want to know, what are you most thankful for, if you had to put it into, one or two things?
Everything, every lesson, blessing, heartache, and challenge. I wouldn't have become the woman I am in love today without them.
So
Mayank, you must be so proud of your sister. She is a true warrior on every level. She may not physically have her real voice, but like I said, she still has a voice, and we are listening. What do you think Mayuri represents for PALS, persons with ALS?
Just one word, not to be reductive, but just hope. You know, it's a disease. You hear those three letters and it's like, get your affairs in order and that's it. But it's when you come back home a week after the diagnosis, or 3 weeks, or a few months later, what do you do with that time? You know, do you sit back and, you know, kind of think about I shoulda, coulda, woulda, or do you kind of step and be like, you know what, if I truly have 3 or 5 years left, what can I do in that time to not only make a mark, but to kind of see, hey, can I actually move the needle a little bit? I think that, and the fact that the needle has been moving in a very unique type of momentum with the help of so many other advocates as well, it's been quite a galvanizing experience, and it's very palpable. And to see the actual numbers, for instance, you know, when you see the metrics of co-sponsors increasing in the House, or you see slowly and slowly we're, you know, getting more and more senators on board. When we had the hearings at Congress for ALS, and when you start, I think when PALS started to see, you know what, I think not many people may care, but you know what, some people care. When some people care and they voice and they have an opinion that's loud enough, it actually is getting quite a bit of national attention, and with bills on the federal level. And I think it's even for people who have the disease or are quite far advanced along, and who they themselves may not have great prospects. I think that hope that they may be leaving the world with a little bit more of a chin up, that we can snuff this disease out, is really something, and it brings a lot more solace and peace to people. And I think that's perhaps, maybe people see that in Mayuri, they see a little bit of themselves in her, and a little bit of that fighter in themselves when they see her fighting.
that's what I see. It's people need to be inspired, and it's all of us, you know, all of us with ALS are kind of isolated in our homes, and we all have this powerful story to tell. And it's little get-togethers like this here today. It's this, you never know who you're going to touch. Your story is your personal story, but it really relates to so many others, and so many others' families going through the same thing. So when they hear how both of you and your mother are the core team, then they realize, you know, we can do this to a certain degree.
I just want you guys to know your story touches my heart very personally, because my younger brother, John, had ALS, and I went through it with him. So I think for those of us who have gone through this journey, it's like an unspoken thing. Like, we get it. I know what you're going through, Mayank. I know. I have been in your, I could say that I've been in your shoes. I mean, I know your story with your sister isn't exactly like my story with my brother, but I've been there, and I understand the challenges. And I'm so impressed that you took the reins and you did a lot of things that we didn't do, because we had other challenges, like my brother not wanting to face that, hey, I may need a wheelchair. We had to take it as it came that day, because he didn't want to deal with the reality. So I respect Mayuri for, and both of you for everything you've done in realizing, okay, here's what we have coming, and we're going to take charge, and we're going to do what we can. And in addition to that, we're going to do advocacy work, and we're going to get socks for people, and we're going to write books. And, look at everything you've done. I'm so impressed. And I actually saw the blanket and laughed, the quilted blanket, because my grandma used to make us blankets that looked exactly like that. And Mayuri's like, thanks, I've had enough blankets. I don't need any more. And I'm laughing because my grandma used to constantly, like, another blanket, thanks, Grandma. But I have them still to this day, and I love them. But please share anything else with us that you can while we've got some time left. You don't need to hear more about us. I want to hear about you guys.
Mayuri, I'll share one thing about Mayuri. She is an amazing party planner. She is she does so much of research into getting into her for planning anybody's parties, any types of outings, if it's anything even small, like she loves doing things for other people. We have family members who have birthdays, and then they'll have a knock on their door, and lo and behold, she did a surprise Uber Eats order for them.
Mm.
And they're gushing about it, and she's always giving back, even though, you know, she may appear to be, you know, physically not able to do so much, but thanks to technology, she's able to still take a lot of her fun ideas of making people's days better, giving them a surprise treat, planning their trip somewhere, suggesting different types of hotels and resorts. Even when she was previously married, she, for her own wedding, she flew on her own to India, would go into local marketplaces that even our family members never would go to, negotiated, and would ship boxes of items over to decorate her own wedding. She just loves to party and be with other people, and she has that outgoing personality. So we kind of just step back and let her do her thing because she's the boss.
There you go. That's what happens when you have an energy inside of you. It doesn't, you know, you hit it right on the head. Technology today's, it can take our wishes and we can make magic happen. I call it magic because before we never thought that this was possible, but now with Zoom and the internet and us being able to communicate this way, I mean, the world has changed and we're taking advantage of it.
And my mom's surprise retirement party.
Yes, my mother retired in June after working for 51 years. She didn't tell me what was going on. She's like, oh, I made some plans, surprise plans. I was like, okay. And then later she revealed to me all on her own. She had contacted and chartered a private boat out in Montauk, chartered and hired a private bus to take us and everybody from our home in New York all the way to Montauk, and even hired a caterer to meet us there to supply these fancy, delicious foods on the boat. And she did 100% of that round trip from home there and backwards with the boat and the crew, all on her own.
Mayuri, you're seriously a rock star. You are unbelievable. You're my hero. I mean, seriously, it's amazing. And if you could quickly also fit in, she's been like a director of artwork, and she's done some very bold, cool statements, you know, where she's dressed with chains. Do you want to just talk a little bit about some of that? I have a lot of the images that I've saved that I really like.
Yeah, she had worked with, like you mentioned before, an artist to kind of bring some concepts within her mind to life. You know, it was the Beauty and Disability series. It's almost to destigmatize being disabled and to say, hey, I'm beautiful too, instead of just seeing ads in the middle of Times Square. It's like, not only am I beautiful too, but I have something to say. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a marriage of art, of, you know, you see her amongst her little tiger friends floating on the river and some artworks. And then the other ones being chained because the opinion of I'm chained by not only this disease, but of inaction on the part of politicians and on the federal level, and not having access to treatments. So it was kind of marriage of having a statement, having an opinion, but also bringing what's within her mind to life and to celebrate it. She had a photo shoot. A photographer came home to take all these photos, and then it was superimposed with other artists who then used their abilities to put it together. And it was all directed from Mayuri because she likes to celebrate and share her opinion and her lifestyle with other people.
Mayank, you're an amazing brother. You're an amazing brother, and she's lucky to have you.
That's right.
You're both lucky to have each other. So
who came up with the idea of Mauri in the wheelchair with the American flag wrapped around her?
I love that one.
With the American flag?
Yeah.
Oh, that was actually taken because Mayuri wrote a book, The Pursuit of Happiness. So she wanted that for her book cover. Mm-hmm. So she had thought that, you know, I am I'm from a family of, you know, immigrants who came here, but I'm also American too. Mm-hmm. I'm part of the American story as well. Mm-hmm. And having worked in, you know, in DC and with the government, she wanted to make sure that that was also part of her story. So that was all Mayuri's idea.
Wow.
Mayuri, you have so many people who love you clearly, and your brother is so amazing. So we're happy to have the opportunity just to be able to talk with you guys. And it was super fun, and call anytime, or we could do Zooms. just to catch up and hear how you guys are doing. I'd love that. And if I ever come to New York, I'll definitely have to come knock on your door. And if I'm in LA, I'll come knock on your door. So
Definitely. Thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate your guys' time and for hearing Mayuri's story and our story. Thank you.
yeah, thanks. I mean,
Thank you very much for having us.
it was really our pleasure.
Thanks for joining us in our journey of exploration and digging deep into the souls of those affected by ALS and those working tirelessly to help put an end to this devastating disease. Your stories and work matter so much to us and to so many. Keep sharing and continuing to help further the research in ALS so we don't have to see another person suffer. Do you know anyone who is suffering from ALS? Are you a researcher, neurologist, pharma, or biotech company working in the ALS space? If so, we would love to hear from you. Please contact us at everythingals.org. Thank you.